Hello everyone. Today, I will recap the movie Saving Private Ryan. The movie is set in 1944 to 1945, during World War II, when the conflict between the Allies and Nazi Germany was gradually coming to an end. On the Western Front, the Allies, led by the United States, conducted the largest landing in military history on the beaches of Normandy, France, resulting in the Allies defeating Nazi Germany in that area. However, to achieve this victory, the Allies paid a very high price, with more than 100,000 soldiers sacrificed during this landing, including 3 of the 4 Ryan brothers. Knowing this situation, General Mason decided to send Captain Miller's team to find and bring back his youngest son, James Francis Ryan. Will Captain Miller's team find James Francis Ryan amidst a vast battlefield? What will be the fate of Ryan and Captain Miller's team? All of this will be revealed in the movie Saving Private Ryan. Let's watch the movie. The opening scene of the movie depicts hundreds of thousands of Allied troops landing en masse on the beaches of Normandy, France, on June 6, 1944. The main mission of these soldiers was to destroy the Nazi defense system along the coast, and Captain Miller's group was among them. Initially, the plan went quite smoothly, with a series of beaches being captured by the Allies. However, not all beaches were easy to take. At Omaha Beach, the Allies encountered fierce resistance from the Germans. The U.S. 1st Infantry Division was almost powerless to advance. The tragedy gradually unfolded, with the bodies of American soldiers scattered all over the beach. Not a single soldier could move forward in such a terrifying situation. However, staying on the beach was not an option, so Captain Miller decided to send a group of soldiers to attack and advance. After escaping German fire, Captain Miller used the radio to report to Allied command that no tanks or armored vehicles had reached the shore. Their troops had suffered heavy losses, and Omaha Beach had not yet been captured. Understanding that the attack was the top priority, a few minutes later, Captain Miller mobilized the rest of his troops to assault this defensive stronghold. Thanks to their efforts, his unit finally managed to open a path up the cliff, the last obstacle, and advance deep into the mainland. Seizing the opportunity, Captain Miller and his men organized an attack on this defensive stronghold. The Germans were very stubborn, taking advantage of the terrain, and they fired back fiercely. Miller used a piece of mirror to observe the German guns, then sent a team to provide fire support. The rest split up and moved forward. Only when Captain Miller's super gunner took action did the Germans surrender. Immediately afterward, thousands of Allied troops on Omaha Beach began to charge forward, dealing with the remaining German troops, who now raised their hands in surrender. The Americans had paid a heavy price, and they sought revenge. Some burning soldiers jumped off the fort, but the Allies did not want to shoot them, and instead let them suffer to death. Among the surrendering German soldiers were 2 Czechs who had been forced to fight for the Germans. However, the 2 Americans pretended not to understand and shot them. In fact, these 2 soldiers wanted to take the spoils from them. Captain Miller also called the command post at the same time to report that Omaha Beach had been captured and requested that the command post move ashore immediately. Afterward, the entire team was given a few minutes of rest. They began collecting soil to bring back as a souvenir, commemorating a battle that was also a memory, a place that caused the heaviest losses for Americans during World War II. More than 29,000 American soldiers died, and over 100,000 were wounded or disabled. Ryan S. was one of them. He was one of the 3 Ryan brothers who died during World War II. The next day, the news was reported to Washington by the forward command post, and the commander of the 29th Division confirmed that only James Francis Ryan was still missing. The rest were dead. A report of this incident was immediately sent to General Mason for instructions. Reading the report and being moved by the situation, General Mason ordered a team to be sent to Normandy to find and bring him back. "He is alive. We need to do this," he said. Immediately after that, the order was passed down to the 1st Infantry Division, and Captain Miller's team was assigned this task by General Mason. Without hesitation, Captain Miller agreed. A moment later, his team was joined by Corporal Upham, an interpreter, and a soldier who had never been in actual combat. As planned, Captain Miller and his team set off. Their destination was the 101st Division, which was believed to be where Ryan was fighting. A few minutes later, in the pouring rain, Captain Miller's team reached a village in the suburbs, where they continued to ask for news of Ryan. But the response continued to be, "I don't know." The unit there was also separated from the remaining units, so they could not know the exact location without information. Captain Miller's team continued to move, this time needing to cross rows of houses that were likely to be ambushed by the Germans. Although it was dangerous, they were used to this. If the enemy did not die, we would die. An unexpected incident happened to Captain Miller's team here. A French family, in a panic, handed their child to Captain Miller's team. Initially, Captain Miller asked everyone to refuse because it was very dangerous, but later, feeling sorry for the child, Caparzo decided to hold the child. Captain Miller immediately told Caparzo to return the child. As soon as he finished speaking, a gunshot rang out, and Caparzo was shot down by a German sniper. Discovering a sniper, Captain Miller asked the team sniper to find and kill him immediately. It didn't take long for Captain Miller's gunner to discover the German sniper's location. And when the German sniper realized it, he was shot in the head. Caparzo died from his severe wound and lost a lot of blood. A few minutes later, his teammates buried him before leaving. A moment later, the whole team stopped at the house to rest. Here, a member of Captain Miller's team accidentally collapsed a wall, indirectly discovering a group of German soldiers. As soon as they saw each other, they raised their guns, ready to fight. Neither side would give in. It seemed like there would be a bloody battle, but suddenly, all the German soldiers were quickly eliminated from above. The one who eliminated them was Maxwell, the commander of the 101st Division, the division that Captain Miller was looking for. Captain Miller immediately asked about Ryan's whereabouts. Commander Maxwell replied, "He is here." Half an hour later, Maxwell led Captain Miller's team back to the base of the 101st Division, where the man believed to be Ryan was presented by Commander Maxwell. Seeing Ryan, Captain Miller greeted him and told him the sad news. Ryan's 3 brothers had all died. This made the young man extremely sad. Captain Miller told Ryan that his 3 brothers had died in the Normandy battle. "No way, my younger brothers are still in high school," Ryan replied. Surprisingly, the person in front of Captain Miller was James Ryan, not James Francis Ryan. The poor boy cried over the mistaken identity. A little disappointed, Captain Miller's team continued on their way. This time, they reached an American base deep in Normandy to continue the mission. Captain Miller's team began to split up to find James Ryan's whereabouts, thinking that they might not find him this time either. But while questioning a soldier, Captain Miller discovered the whereabouts of James Ryan, who said that Ryan was most likely in Rommel. Happy to finally find the person they were looking for, Captain Miller's team immediately set off. However, Miller's team was once again stopped on the way to Rommel. They encountered a Nazi machine gun nest. It was these soldiers who had caused the deaths of the American soldiers there. Unable to ignore it, Captain Miller decided that the team would attack this machine gun nest to clear the way for those who would follow. They stripped down their luggage to move more quickly, taking only enough weapons and ammunition. As a result of a daring plan, Captain Miller's team easily destroyed and captured the enemy machine gun position. However, an unfortunate incident occurred. A corporal, Wade, was hit by a German bullet during the attack. The wound was so severe that the young man lost his life. After that, the entire group wanted to shoot the prisoner, Stadler's steamboat, to avenge Corporal Wade. However, the cowardly prisoner begged them to spare his life. Upham heard what the prisoner was saying and begged Captain Miller not to kill him. What happened next, however, surprised everyone. Captain Miller ordered the prisoner to be blindfolded and released. This decision left everyone puzzled, as they wondered why Captain Miller would release the enemy responsible for Corporal Wade's death. Riven, who had strongly opposed Miller's actions, questioned the captain's judgment. Despite the disagreement, Captain Miller stood by his decision. Miller said, "I don't care who Ryan is. I just know that when we find him, we're going home." Captain Miller left to dig a hole to bury Wade's body. Riven felt he had gone too far, so he went back and joined Miller and the others in burying Wade. The next morning, Captain Miller's group finally found the man they were looking for. Although the scenery along their way was beautiful, they did not want to appreciate. Suddenly, Captain Miller heard the sound of tracked vehicles approaching and ordered his men to hide in the grass. When a French army reconnaissance vehicle approached, they were ambushed. Captain Miller quickly coordinated a response, preparing his men for battle. They had to act immediately. If the enemy approached, they would be shot. Not afraid of wasting ammunition, they finally found James Ryan. As they approached Ryan, Captain Miller said, "We have been looking for you for a long time. Prepare yourself to hear what I am about to tell you. 3 of your 4 brothers have died in battle, and General Matson has signed an order allowing you to return home to America." Miller initially thought Ryan would be relieved, But to his surprise, Ryan declared, "I will not go back. I cannot be a coward and abandon my brothers." Seeing Ryan's determination, Captain Miller decided to stay with his squad to support the unit and defend the area. However, defending the area was no easy task. Ammunition was running low, and holding their position was nearly impossible. Despite the challenges, Captain Miller, known for his strategic thinking, came up with a plan to disperse the enemy and attack them from both flanks. He knew they needed to maximize their chances of winning the battle by using everything they had and firing accurately without wasting a single bullet. He ordered two 30mm machine guns to be placed, one below and one above the bell tower to simulate their position. However, they had only a few small arms. Captain Miller reasoned that they could destroy the enemy tank tracks by making makeshift explosives out of TNT or a bomb mixture. The plan involved stuffing the mixture into socks and attaching simple detonators. Despite losing all their socks, they came up with a final contingency plan. In case of failure, everyone would retreat to the bridge and detonate the explosives to destroy it. The soldiers had to concentrate, tighten their resolve, and be prepared to sacrifice one sock to make a bomb, while the rest set traps on the way to the bridge. With everything ready, the soldiers enjoyed the remaining peaceful moments, reflecting on the purpose of the war and sharing their favorite stories. However, their fleeting joy did not last long. Shortly after the conversation ended, the Germans advanced from above, revealing more than 50 infantrymen, 2 self-propelled guns, and 2 German Tiger tanks advancing into the area. Immediately, the entire American defense unit was in position. 2 comrades volunteered to drive a rabbit car as bait, intending to lure the Germans into their trap. They raised their guns, waiting for the Germans to advance into their annihilation zone. With such attractive bait, it was hard to believe that the Germans could resist. They had tanks and a variety of modern weapons, but what they did not know was the tragedy that awaited them. The chaos of disaster would unfold within minutes. The trap was triggered as soon as the Germans entered the designated range, signaling the start of a bloody conflict. With the advanced preparation, the American troops quickly took out several German artillery batteries and tanks. The Germans found themselves paralyzed and confused, unable to determine where to attack as they faced increasing chaos. Meanwhile, the soldiers stationed on the watchtower assisted by pointing out the movements of the German infantry. Captain Miller and his men fired as they moved, dodging shots from the Tiger's cannon. Miller detonated 2 grenades and aimed them at the tank's tracks, successfully disabling the giant machine. However, the Americans faced dire consequences when German reinforcements arrived shortly after, and the chaos of the battle became more intense, with the entire team of grenades relentlessly aimed at the immobilized Tiger. It seemed as if victory would be won by the Americans, but it was not to be. With overwhelming force, the Germans easily regained their positions. All the Americans were killed. The survivors were just trying to hold on and shoot their guns until their last breath. Sooner or later, they would run out of ammunition, and when that happened, they would be crushed by the Germans with their superior strength and weapons. However, some very foolish deaths were typical of 2 of Miller's gunners, who were killed by the Germans, while Upham was too scared to come to their aid. Outside, the battle was becoming clearer. German tanks and infantry gradually began to destroy the remaining American defensive positions. Some members of Captain Miller's group went on suicide bombing runs, trying to take out a tank or some German soldiers with them. There was no other way. Captain Miller had to use homemade grenades to throw at the Germans. Now, whatever was available, he threw it. Simply killing or injuring the enemy is sufficient, but fighting that way for extended periods is unsustainable. Captain Miller had to resort to his last plan, to bomb and destroy the bridge to prevent the Germans from advancing. The Germans seemed to have guessed Miller's plan. They were extremely panicked and attacked with all their might, trying to overwhelm and stop the plan of these American remnants. However, with their indomitable will and courage, Captain Miller's team still tried to hold on until their last breath. Unfortunately, his plan failed when, just as he was about to detonate the bomb, Steamboat, the prisoner he had spared, shot him. He collapsed. In his final moments, Captain Miller tried to use his pistol to shoot at the German Tiger tank that was advancing across the bridge. Thinking that everything was over, it was not. From the sky, the U.S. Air Force P-51 Mustang approached and immediately blew up the Tiger tank. Finally, their reinforcements arrived in time. The Germans below were clearly defeated by the fighter attack, and they were in a state of panic, fleeing in disarray. At that last moment, Upham overcame his fear and shot Steamboat dead to avenge Captain Miller. When Captain Miller saw the victory of his army, he smiled with satisfaction. Before he died, he told Ryan to live for them, and to live well, so that the sacrifice of the whole team would not be in vain. At the end of the film, only Upham, Riven, and Ryan were still alive. The others had all been killed. Years later, when he was old, Ryan returned to visit Captain Miller's grave and asked his wife if he had lived as well as Captain Miller had told him to. She replied yes. The film vividly depicts the horrors of war, paid for with the blood of soldiers who sacrificed their lives to protect their homeland. Therefore, I hope we will be grateful for and cherish peace, as it is the result of the great sacrifices made by previous generations. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and helping it develop as it is today. If you find it interesting, please like and leave a comment about this film. Especially, please subscribe to the channel to follow my latest film summaries. See you again, dear friends.